everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Real CFO. I'm Chad Brown, your host. I'm excited about today because we've got a legal mind joining us today, but we're not going to dive too deep into the legalese and stuff. But, we wanted to bring Joshua Irvine with Irvine Legal on to kind of talk a little bit about law, but just in general, business, his success, kind of his journey through entrepreneurship, and hopefully add some value to you and some nuggets you can take with you and help you out in your business. So with that said, Joshua, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
You bet. So you're an attorney.
Yep.
How did we get to that? Right.
It was a big journey. I never wanted to be an attorney, to be honest. And sometimes one of the hardest things about my job is dealing with other attorneys. But I was always pre-med, actually.
Okay.
Up until about the night before I applied to medical school, I had planned on going to medical school, and
wow.
And had some experiences and some questions and some direction, and ultimately ended up going to law school, primarily because I felt like it had a lot of benefit in the traditional law world, but in business. And that's always been where my heart has been in business. And so, I felt like it would have been a good tool set to have in any kind of business venture I ultimately pursued.
Now, it's interesting, right? You said up to the minute where you were actually gonna sign the dotted line to go to med school, you said, let's flip that switch. So something must have been kind of compounding subconsciously or consciously for a while before you made that decision, right?
Yeah, I've always been a nerd, and I tell people all the time I would have enjoyed medical school way more than law school, and I use a lot more of my medical background today. Sometimes my kids are always coming up to me, "Hey, Dad, look at this. Hey, wrap my ankle. Hey." So part of the compounding issue, to your point, is actually just my assessment of business and seeing how, I'm getting a little older. So seeing how the trend of medicine was moving much more into a corporate and business and private equity model than what I personally wanted to pursue, made me reevaluate it. And over a period of years, culminating in that final day before I signed to go that direction, I said, you know what? I feel impressed to go a different way. And I haven't regretted it, but that doesn't mean that I still would not have enjoyed medical school.
Yeah, but that's an interesting point that you make, that you kind of saw it gravitating one way, and it didn't really feel maybe that passion or that drive to do it. So you made that switch.
Yeah.
That's a big thing in entrepreneurship. So many folks, I didn't mean to be a CPA. I went to school. I didn't know what to do, accounting. My dad did okay in it. So I said, well, let me give it a shot. And a few years later, I'm a CPA. And then 20 some years later, I have my own firm and multiple tax offices. So it's interesting where the road takes us, right?
Sure.
But kind of like you, my passion isn't being the CPA, doing the CPA work. That's part of it. I enjoy that, the analyticals, the methodology behind it. But I really enjoy business. And I really enjoy working with business owners and helping business owners. And that might be strategy. That might be debits and credits, whatever it may be. That's where I get the true passion. So you went into law. You get out of law school. You worked for a firm for a while, or did you immediately go into your own?
Yeah, I worked for a law firm, a really big law firm, for about a year and a half while I was still in school. Okay. And then I worked for them for about a year after I got out of school. And I just wasn't happy. I wasn't enjoying the model. I guess I almost looked at it in the same way I looked at medical school and the practice of medicine. I didn't like the business trajectory of that model. And so I left, much to the dismay of lots of people around me. But full disclosure, with the support of my wife. That's a key factor here in the entrepreneur journey,
right?
That those around you support you. Anyway, I went and I started my own based on the idea of creating a different model where I could balance what I enjoyed about working with businesses and business owners and investors, with also the reality of being able to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I found something that worked really well, and I've been super happy with that decision ever since.
Now, you mentioned earlier before we went live to me that in your legal firm, you operate on a kind of subscription based model.
Right.
We're very similar because I found that over the years in working at CPA firms and also doing it myself for a little bit is kind of becoming really transactional, right? By the hour. Um, there's benefits to that, and we still do that in some projects. But what I found was, the business owners or the people that need me, for advice or whatever, they were reluctant to call to spend that hourly rate to ask questions, get clarity, because maybe they're a small business, they don't have the funds, and that's not how they operate. But working under a subscription-based model, it kind of gives them that flexibility. They have certainty what their expense is going to be each month under certain parameters, and they're comfortable calling you and asking you those questions that really are, key to a lot of them are key to their business, their cash flow.
Yeah, no, I think, and it works well. I mean, I just always felt this tension almost under the traditional model where my clients were a little bit paranoid, and probably rightly so, that, hey, the only reason he's calling me is because he needs to bill me,
Yeah, God forbid you make the call, right?
Right. I'm like, no, guys, I was just seriously curious if you got any ducks when you went out hunting last weekend. I'm not going to bill you for it, or no, legitimately, I was thinking about you guys, and here's something that can help your business.
Right.
When they're not going to get charged more for that, I felt like it put in balance the relationships and kind of that strategic advice model that I personally enjoy. So my clients trust the advice, and they're not suspicious when I'm reaching out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and we found the same thing. The way we operate under that model, I think it works better for everybody. It's a win-win-win. So now, kind of getting out of the legal, the business side of things, you've talked about passion. It kind of drove you to help others be entrepreneur, help other business owners. For those listeners out there that maybe they've started something and it feels like a job, how do you turn that maybe into the passion or really check yourself? Is that the path you want to go?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think it's one that lots of entrepreneurs, lots of people throughout their career try to grapple with to varying levels of fulfillment. And I'd probably say two things to that point. One, a lot of people kind of flippantly use a phrase, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And that sounds warm and fuzzy, but I enjoy what I do, but I work hard. So I don't know if I fully buy into that, but it makes the hard times easier. And that's just a reality. Every job's going to have it. But the other side is, something that I think business owners and entrepreneurs really struggle with is making time to evaluate and self-reflect. And we get so tied into I need to provide X, I need to pay my bills, I need to cover my mortgage, I need to pay for food or gas, that we don't ever take the time to sit back and say, look, I have 30 or 40 years of a career ahead of me. What do I want that career to look like? And when I look back, what do I want to have been happy with? What's that satisfaction? And so one of the things that I often give to clients, or at least talk about with clients, is actually a book by Simon Sinek, which talks about figuring out what the why is in your life, but also in your business. If you don't enjoy, if you haven't figured out why you're doing it beyond just simply money, I feel like you're going to run into this again and again, where you just kind of feel a little bit empty almost, not to get too dramatic, but if you don't find that passion somewhere, then it's going to be hollow. And frankly, I had this conversation with my brother recently because he's kind of at the juncture where he got laid off a few months ago, and he's in his 40s and he's trying to figure stuff out, and he found something that he thinks he can enjoy, but it doesn't have maybe the cultural prestige that others might evaluate in his peer group. And I said, hey man, like if this is what you enjoy and you can go home and you don't have these stresses and these other things and you have more control and you have all these other values that I know he enjoys, then screw what others are going to say.
Right.
Like it's ultimately about you and your family.
Yeah, there's that stigma out there. Sometimes we don't want to do what we do because of what others think or how we feel others are going to look at us. And honestly, in most cases, that's not true. That's just the story we're building in our head. But even if it is true, who cares? If you're passionate about it, you're going to be happy. It's going to get you to the end result. You got to do it. Sometimes easier said than done. But
sure.
I know, I can relate. I've built stories in my head about various things, whatever it may be, certain risks, certain opportunities, thinking how others might think. And then when you actually bring it to them or actually do it, it's kind of like, oh, and nobody even said anything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, that's awesome. So you get started in business, you've got your legal business, but you said you're really entrepreneurial and you like to focus on process and create systems. Is that within your business, helping other businesses create those systems in your life? Or?
Yeah, I'd say yes, all of the above. Sometimes my interest, my I don't know, my tendency to create systems can also become bad because then I don't like to operate outside of a system, or when it doesn't follow that system. Right. Sometimes that really, just drives me nuts. But yeah, every company, every business, I don't care what kind of business it is going to benefit to one degree or another from systems. And I talk about this a lot with clients. A lot of my clients are contractors and in the construction or trades industries. And they often, one of the systems that they use is obviously some kind of a phone system in their business. But I make fun of a lot of them, and I tell it to them straight. Their phone system usually is their cell phone, and their answering reception is usually themselves, and their scheduling tool is usually while they're driving in their truck. And I just simply, we joke about it, but I simply outline, I'm like, hey guys, most of your problems in your business come from the failure for that first system, your phone and your calendar system, to work the right way. And so, I have to be honest with my own shortcomings in a company, and a real mindset for me that helps me work with my clients and help them with their systems is really, a lot of times as companies, as business owners, we tend to blame our employees, and we say, look, I got all these employee issues. If only I hired the right employee. If only I had, A-level employees. And I really think that's wrong. Over the years, I've assessed my own strengths and weaknesses, and I think I don't think we have bad employees. I think we have bad systems. Right. And I feel like 99% of the employees out there that we hire are good, smart, willing people. If we give them systems and show them how to use those systems, they will excel. And it's just usually us as the owners that we neglect the work that's required to create and monitor and revise those systems that causes 90% of our own problems.
Right. No, it's interesting you say that. I mean, I can relate back to that all too well, right? We don't have the systems in place. Maybe you need to hire somebody to do jobs, and you hire the individual, but now they don't know what the expectation is because it wasn't clearly articulated. They don't know the step-by-step process. So as, a business owner, and even as an individual, I mean, I'm trying to teach this to my kid. We had an incident, or not an incident, but a conversation today regarding his college and his advisor and all of that. I'm like, you need a system in place. But yeah, I mean, ultimately as a business owner, If anything goes wrong and awry that irritates you, right? Because you can get irritated and frustrated. You
Sure.
need to take a deep breath, go for a walk, go to the gym, meditate, whatever it is, and ask yourself a very simple question. Could I have a system or a process in place that would have prevented that? Right? Don't blame that person until you can truly answer in your head, they're not following the system.
Right.
Then they can go, right? But, or you can coach them up. But if you have no system, what are they supposed to follow?
Yeah.
No, great point. Great point. Yeah, I mean, with my son, he's 20, he's going to be 21 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he wants to be a commercial pilot. So he's in flight school and everything outside of a university system. He's getting his flight hours, trainings, and certifications. But as a pilot, the airlines, at least the major airlines, like for you to have a bachelor's. Not a requirement, but they like it. You know how that is, right?
Sure.
And so now he's kind of torn. Like, he doesn't really want to be in school. He's doing this. He's working. So he's kind of all over the place. And he had a call with his advisor, and he's like, I'm never going to get done. I'm never going to get done. I'm like, when are you going to get done based on the stuff you got to get done? Right? It's not a matter of you, really. It's a matter of what needs to be done.
Right.
And then you set the goal of when it's going to be done, and then you work backwards, and you have a system in place. And you have time, right? You have time. You just don't think you do because you're busy not doing anything, during certain times of the day. You need routine, systems, process to chop wood, and you got to put in an hour or two in each, you got to touch it every day, Monday through Sunday, Sunday through Monday, whatever. And I was once like that. I'm sure maybe you were. I mean, some people were born very regimented, but I was kind of all over the place when I was younger as well. So, but it surprises me how many folks are.
Well, and
business owners just.
Yeah, I mean, those business owners didn't magically get those skills overnight either.
Right.
Those business owners were once those 21-year-olds trying to figure something out.
Right.
And then they found a few skills that they liked, or some areas or some industries, and they started working and building and growing.
Yeah.
And now they got enough money coming in the door, but they still don't have those skills. Like schools, universities, they don't teach those things very well. They punch out people that have the professional skills or the licensure, those kind of core competencies, but not the soft stuff, not the how to run a business stuff. Even, I mean, I know I teach at a university, and maybe I'm not supposed to say stuff like this, but even business degrees don't necessarily teach you how to run a business.
No.
They teach you some theory about it, but where the rubber meets the road, and all of those things, that diploma doesn't necessarily give you.
Don't mean anything. I got my accounting degree, went on and got my CPA, and come out of college, I didn't know a thing, right, in the real world, because there wasn't real-time application. So I did some intern work, and that's where I was exposed to it. And then I had the principles down, but I tell you what, I had to learn that and continuously learn as I worked at the CPA firm. And then once I decided to go out on my own, because I had worked with a number of businesses, taxes, accounting, whatever, I felt like I was in a great spot to run and operate a business. Wow. That wasn't necessarily the case for the first few years. I was the business. I was doing all the taxes. I was doing all the accounting. I was doing all the payroll. I was doing everything, right?
Right.
As so many do. But yeah, you learn those. Learn to plan, prioritize, and understand you can only do so much, right?
Yeah.
And still have a peaceful life.
Yeah.
So, good deal. Good deal. So, hobbies. What do you do? Outside of legal and teaching and.
Yeah, I mean, I love being a dad. So I have 4 boys. and we stay pretty busy doing different stuff. As my boys have got older, I've had some fun activities. So I'd say my oldest son, he's 17, and about 2 years ago, he and I kind of challenged each other to do some powerlifting together, and he got really big into powerlifting, and so it was a fun opportunity for he and I to do something, and so we did what's called the 1,000 pound club, which
Okay.
is basically in powerlifting, you have three main lifts. You have a squat, you have a deadlift, and you have a bench press.
Yeah.
And the 1,000 pound club is the aggregate sum of your max lift, and each of those three
Sure.
has to exceed 1,000 pounds. So we had a little father-son competition between those events, and
Who won?
well, it actually
You
was
both get it?
it was a draw because we both got it.
Yep.
He ended up getting about 1195 was his total score. Mine was 1175,
Oh, wow.
and but I won two of the three events. He just dusted me in one of them enough to edge me at the
You're
finish
just really
line.
good at the one.
Yeah,
No,
so
that's awesome. That's
so that's
awesome.
been fun. And I also love hiking. I love big mountains. I go on big treks, sometimes with others, sometimes with just myself. But yeah, I love.
You're in Utah. What part of Utah are you in?
So I live in northern Utah, and
Is that around St. George?
no, that's down in southern Utah. So
Oh, that is Southern Utah.
northern Utah would be closer to Jackson Hole, basically,
Oh, okay.
all the way up there,
Nice.
all the way up at the top. So mountains are everywhere, and yeah, I love that, going out and getting lost in the mountains.
Yeah, I tell you, every year my wife and I, except for this year, go out to Colorado most every year in September and hike up in Rocky Mountain National Park. I love it. It's beautiful. The mountain, there's just something about it. I like the ocean. There's just something about the mountains. Unfortunately, we're not able to go this year yet. My daughter's got some hip issues and surgery coming up, so
Oh,
unfortunate.
they'll still be there next year, though. Those mountains.
They will be.
Anywhere.
They will be for sure. And like I told her, so we need to try other areas of the country that have mountains, not just Rocky Mountain National Park. So
Yeah, I mean, like I'll do international expeditions, so like big fun stuff. Like I went out to do Kilimanjaro, and I'm headed down to South America in a month to go and do a big hike down there, and so yeah, there's some fun stuff out there for sure.
wow, cool. Well, hey, Josh, I appreciate you being on. Is there anything like a couple key points you would tell small business owners? We're going to dive into the legal a little bit. Small business owners that are starting up. I know we work with some, and they have a tendency to kind of be all over the place when it comes to financial and systems and processes and legal matters. Is there a few things you would just tell them if they're listening today, what they need to get in order, kind of like
Sure.
that are simple things, nothing overly complex, but to have in order from the get-go?
I mean, obviously, there's the legal stuff, and I'll just say that goes without saying. You need to make sure you have a good advisor to help you with your tax, your finance, your legal stuff. But as a subset to that is to make sure you have good advisors, good people around you that you can bounce ideas off of, people that have screwed up, people that have been in the trenches that can give you some tips along the way. The second thing I'd say is to study business. I probably read a lot of books, and I'd say the majority of my books are about business, not about law. That doesn't mean that I don't study law. I still obviously have to know some stuff, but
Right.
study business, and I study it from people outside of my industry, because a lot of people have good ideas that I can apply irrespective of the industry that they're in. So study business. And then I guess the third is kind of what we already talked about, but make sure from the beginning that you're doing it because you figured out that this is your passion, that this is your why. You're not doing it because somebody else told you to or made you do it, because all of us are going to have sucky days in our business. You're going to have clients that you don't enjoy working with. You're going to have tough situations with staff. You're just going to have stressful experiences. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to be able to navigate those ups and downs.
Right. No, good stuff, man. Josh, where could they find more information about you, Irvine Law?
Yeah, I mean, they could go to our website, irvine-legal.com. They could also call. I do typically offer free consults, free 15-minute calls for business clients. And so they could call our office, 385-333-7966, and they could get scheduled and we could just chat about some of these things or some other questions that maybe they had.
No, good stuff. I appreciate that, Joshua. Hey guys, make sure you take this opportunity. Not every day folks give their phone number out on the podcast, so that's cool. To ask people just to give them a call. If you have any questions, don't sit on it. Reach out to somebody, and Joshua's a great guy in Irvine Legal to help you answer some of those questions. So, Joshua, appreciate you again, man, for being on.
Thanks for having me.